Hey everyone, this is Evan with Explore Fall, bringing you a fall foliage update on October 10th, 2023. In this video, we're going to break things down by region so we can get an idea for how fall foliage is changing throughout the country. We'll also take some time to look at reports and videos that we've received this week, as well as feel out what weather lies ahead and how it might impact fall foliage timing and vibrancy in your area. As always, if you want to see these maps for yourself, go visit our website, www.explorefall.com, or follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, @ExplorerFall. Let's dive right in by looking at the Northeast. As you can see, we already have peak color showing up in some areas, from northern Maine to Vermont, New Hampshire, and even the Adirondacks of New York. These areas have been in peak for a few days now, and unfortunately, we are seeing signs of past peak color in some areas. This is a result of recent heavy rain and high wind, but don't worry, there's still plenty of color left to be seen. As you can see, much of the Northeast is still in low to moderate color, and we expect that to become much more colorful in the days ahead. Looking at our 7-day forecast here, you can see that peak color really expand in the next 7 days, reaching areas such as northern Pennsylvania, western Massachusetts, and even northwestern Connecticut. For the region as a whole, we are still seeing signs of muted colors. Unfortunately, it's a very stressful year for the trees, with late freezes in the spring as well as a very wet summer. But nonetheless, the Northeast still has stunning fall foliage, so you can expect to see those displays if you head up into the mountains or even southern New York, northern Pennsylvania in the next week or so. We received quite a few reports from this region over the last week, so thank you to everyone who sent one in. Here's one of our favorites from Michael Fleming showing peak color throughout the Adirondacks just a couple of days ago on October 8th. He does note that past peak is now entering the high elevations, which we see on our map, but regardless, there's still some great color to be found out in that area. In the White Mountains of New Hampshire, Colton Flint found this beautiful scene just outside of Franconia. You can see that the color is high to near peak, and this was a few days ago now. Unfortunately, this is one of those spots that has seen a lot of leaf fall in recent days because of the heavier rains and higher winds. This picture was taken by TJ just 3 days later, and it shows how much that color fell apart just in that short time span. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of beautiful past peak color in this shot, but you can see how that leaf drop affected the area. Lastly, we wanted to point out these pictures from a deal taken in north central Maine. It shows moderate to high color, so peak has not yet arrived. Now, that being said, the progression of fall color is quickly moving in the direction of Baxter State Park, and we expect this area to be in peak color in the next day or two. Further south, we're finally seeing peak color show up in portions of West Virginia. In fact, just in the past 2 to 3 days, we've received some beautiful reports and pictures of fall foliage in Snowshoe and Canaan Valley, West Virginia. Now, this area has been very tricky this year because of the ongoing drought, but it seems like the colors are far better in West Virginia than they are in Virginia. Moving forward in the next 7 days, we think those peak colors will expand the high country of West Virginia, and we'll even see some pockets of peak in Shenandoah National Park in Northern Virginia. Our good friend Billy Bowling posted this photo from Cranberry Wilderness in West Virginia a couple of days ago, showing high to peak color along this highway. These views are incredible and rival some of the colors that we're seeing in the Northeast this year. Our own Peter Forrester shared this image from Shavers Fork, West Virginia, underscoring how vibrant the colors are in this area. In the southeast, we're finally seeing that fall color just begin to show up in some areas. Southern Mississippi and portions of Louisiana are in the midst of a really bad drought. This is causing some early season color, but for the most part, the best color in the southeast is still confined to the southern Appalachians. That's western North Carolina, where we have just a couple pockets of near peak color at this time. In the coming week, we do think that color will begin to expand, but it's not yet time for widespread peaks in the southeast. We'll see that fall color get down to about 4,000 feet by the end of this week, and then by the end of October, that's when we usually expect peak color to spill out into the Piedmont of North Carolina, and by November into the deep south, that's Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. The best fall color in the southeast currently seems to be in the Graveyard Fields area. This is just outside of Brevard, North Carolina, and it's a region that is known for really early fall color. Jack Kendrick tagged us in this photo a couple of days ago showing the confusing array of fall color with a stripe of green across the middle, peak across the top, and almost past peak across the bottom. Nearby, our fall foliage partner, Local Yocal Weather, snapped these photos near where Highway 215 intersects the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is another area that's known for those early season fall colors, and you can see that on this cloudy day, those vibrant fall colors were really popping. Further north on Grandfather Mountain, North Carolina, there's actually a surprising lack of fall foliage for this time of year. Rough Ridge, which is pictured here, usually peaks in the first week of October, but Tim Buckley visited a few days ago and noted that color was moderate at best. Now, we do expect this area to get into that high to peak color in the next couple of days and to be stunning in the upcoming weekend. On nearby Grandmother Mountain, Henry Burton found this grove of yellow and orange trees already showing that early season fall color. Now, just like with Grandfather, peak is yet to arrive in this area, but we do expect those more brilliant colors to show up in the next week or so. The Midwest is another area that has been very difficult to forecast this year because of an ongoing drought. As you can see here, fall foliage is highly variable throughout the region. If we break it down by more localized areas, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, as well as central and the north woods of Wisconsin, are finally seeing that peak fall color. In fact, the north woods are already past peak as recent winds brought down a lot of leaves. Just down to the southeast, the lower peninsula is still mostly green, with a few pockets of moderate and even a little bit of high in the interior region. In Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, we still have mostly low color with just a few pockets of moderate. This is an area that doesn't normally see peak color until later in October and sometimes even early November, so the show is just getting started here. Finally, in the high plains, we have a highly variable timing, like I mentioned before. Peak color ranging from the Black Hills to eastern South Dakota, but low color in Pierre. So you really have to go county by county to understand how the drought is impacting fall foliage in this region. In the week ahead, we'll finally see peak colors arrive in places like southern Minnesota, Iowa, and Nebraska. The lower peninsula will also get in on the action with peak color showing up in the interior regions. We should note that the lower peninsula of Michigan has been a very challenging place for our model this year. In fact, we received a report earlier this week that indicated that we had some error that has since been addressed. This very valuable report from Victor out of north central Michigan pointed out that our model is actually running too fast in that area, and that low to moderate color was far more frequent than any high to peak. We've made an adjustment here and will continue to monitor this in the weeks ahead. The Rockies have had one of the best fall foliage seasons in recent memory. Now, a lot of the area is past peak, as you can see on our map, but that doesn't mean the show is over. There are still pockets of brilliant fall color throughout the region, ranging from western Montana all the way down into Wyoming and Colorado. Unfortunately, Yellowstone and the Tetons have passed peak season, but in Colorado, the show still goes on with the Aspen Peak. Beautiful yellows and golds dot the hillsides outside of Telluride and Vail, and even still some shows in Breckenridge, Colorado. Our 7-day forecast shows color spreading down into the plains of eastern Colorado. Unfortunately, the shows are nearing their end, and by the weekend, we expect them to be over in the Rockies, but that doesn't mean that you won't still be able to find some fall color in the lower elevations. Grand Junction, Durango, these are places that you could still look for that fall color in the week ahead. Colorado Springs, Denver, and Fort Collins have yet to see the best shows. Those will likely come in the next 7 to 10 days. If we step back, we can see how fall color is spreading throughout the Southwest. We currently have some really good displays going on in northern New Mexico, but by far the winner of this year's fall foliage contest is the Wasatch Mountains just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. This area is now going on week 4 of peak fall color, and it is absolute insanity out there as the big tooth maples give way to the aspen peak. We couldn't possibly share all of the fall foliage reports that we've seen out of the western region over the past week, but a couple were just too good to miss out on. This one, taken by Jance Ogden and posted by Thomas out of Utah, shows an incredible aspen scene there just outside of Salt Lake City. these aspens are still peaking, and as mentioned previously, this is now the 4th week of peak color in the Salt Lake City region. We also had to fit in this picture shared by Visit Telluride showing a bright yellow aspen stand in the foreground of the Rocky Mountains. Just look at that reflection on the lake. Lastly, the Pacific West is still in the throes of fall foliage season. If we check in on the Sierra, you can see that we still have peak color on the eastern side of the Sierra. That color is spreading down from the high elevations, moving through Tahoe, and some incredible displays are still ongoing. Further to the north, in the Pacific Northwest, we do have a very erratic fall foliage due to some drought impacts, especially near the coast in Oregon and Washington. But regardless, we are seeing that fall color unfold right now. We've seen a number of reports come in from Portland, and we have peak color unfolding in places like Eugene and Corvallis. In the week ahead, that color will continue to expand, and we think we'll see some really good shows in Portland, as well as see that fall color finally encroach on Seattle, Washington. Before we go, we did want to mention a storm that's coming down the pipeline that could potentially impact fall foliage in your area. The storm is expected to form in the lee of the Rockies this upcoming week and move east, impacting fall color in the northeastern United States. In the locations that are already seeing high to peak color, the leaves are susceptible to early drop, and we could see premature past peak color in those areas. Overall, this should be a great week for fall color across the United States outside of that storm. Cooler than average weather will move in behind it, and we think that this will really help kick off fall foliage in portions of the eastern United States that have yet to see any real change. That's all we have for this week's update, so be sure to check back next week for another video or visit our website, www.explorefall.com, to see the latest maps updated daily on an interactive platform. Thank you so much, and have a great week.